let's go a little bit deeper on this, specifically as it relates to the employees and hiring. How did you actually do that? I mean, tactically, how did you actually figure out if there was the win-win?
Yeah. So, I was probably the last interview on, for everybody that started the company, kind of like
Every person,
for every
every
person,
person.
probably, I think like at peak, we were about 100 people, maybe a little bit over 100 in the company. But that means that, like, 200 people went through the company over its history, maybe a little bit more. And I thought it was really important, first of all, that like they met the CEO and they knew like where, and everybody kept on telling me, hey, once you hit this mark, you can't do this. Once you hit this mark, you're not going to be able to do this. And I was like, well, I'm not going to be a blocker, but I do think it's really important that I get to meet everybody. And I asked the same interview question for years and years and years and years. And I said, at the point that they, most of, especially in the end, that people got to me, the decision was kind of already made, right? Like, I trusted that my team, that they have vetted the technical skills and the kind of like EQ and the kind of like value alignment with the company. And really what I want to do is that final, like, will I be able at this company to provide what this person wants?
Mm.
And will this person be able to kind of like, meet that on the other side with the company? And so I always told people the same thing, which is that you say, hey, we're having this conversation. You start tomorrow. I'd be like, David, you start tomorrow. Um, Now 2 years have gone by. Look back. Why is David a better person? What
Mm.
happened at Algorithmia that like made you, for your career, for your development? Like, why are you a better position than you are right now today? And some people, kind of gave me the BS answer of like, oh, I just want to make the company successful, blah, blah. And like, that was a bullshit answer because it's like, no, this is about you. This is not about the company, right? I want to understand why you're going to be better, right? And
Mm.
because if we can't provide that, then this is not a good fit. We're not aligned, right? But if we can provide that,
Mm.
this is going to be a really successful thing because I know what I need from you, right? I need you to be a great engineer or a great marketer or work really hard in like FinOps, like whatever it was. Like I already knew what we needed from you, but now I needed to learn what you were expecting out of this interaction. And like 2 years in a startup is a lifetime. And
Mm.
and 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 the most valuable thing we have is time. And so like if we weren't going to be able to provide the environment for you to grow and fulfill your own things, then this is a terribly aligned relationship, even from day one. So that was kind of like how I did that in my interview process.
I heard Mark Benioff speak one time, and he talked about this concept of an employee value proposition, which I had never really heard before. And it has stuck with me because it's kind of what you're saying, right? It's like, this is what we are saying to you as the employee of what you can expect. And if you don't, if that doesn't match to what you want, then don't come here, basically. I like that. Uh, do do you think that people earlier in the interview process on your team knew how to ask those kinds of questions, or was it really left to you at the end of the process to do that?
I think people, everybody had their own style, and I tried not to like meddle too much. And look, there's people who like, as a company grows, I'm sure this happened to you. Like, there's people who've never hired before, right? And so you definitely have to do training, and you definitely have to kind of like indicate. And then, as the company got bigger, and we had more structure around, hey, you Peter are going to do the kind of technical interview, and
Hmm.
then like kind of like Mary, you're going to do like cultural fit and like blah blah blah. And so like that was a little bit more structured, but everybody knew what I was going to ask because it was so repetitive, and I always asked the same question. And then they're also horrified, especially my HR team, um, when because I would also ask it and be like, hey, I just want you to know, like, I want, we're gonna have a social contract right now, right? Once I've done the alignment, this is not something only the CEO could do.
Yeah,
Which
you're
is,
right.
we're gonna agree that you're always gonna look out for David, right? And the best interest of David, right? Obviously, we're all gonna be honest and legal and all, but you're always gonna be, and I'm always gonna look out for the best interest of my company. And this is our social contract. So there's never gonna be disappointment. I'm always going to make a decision that's best for the
Mm,
company, and you should always make a
mm,
decision that's best for you. And we can still find alignment, right? And people were like
mm,
horrified because like, what do you like? It's like why would you say that? You're going to spook people off. I'm like, no, like if people are spooked off by that, like where's the lie? Like
mm.
I will 100% every single time make the best decision for the company.
So you, in terms of prioritization, when you were hiring, you and I ran this session for some CEOs, a couple weeks ago, and some founders, and there were a number of people talking about, wanting to find that top 1%, the top 1% engineer, the top 1% person to add. If I understand what you're saying to me, yes, you wanted great people, but you would actually, if I offered it to you, you would prioritize the person who was that win-win fit over trying to find the most talented engineer.
Yeah, every time. I mean, I think like the value alignment, like obviously there's a minimum skill set required, not even minimum, like there's a skill set that you want. And like there's the great um, everybody talks about the 10x engineer. We definitely had 10x engineers. But I had
Mhm.
10x engineers, but like were the best ones were not only like a power themselves, but they actually powered everybody around them.